I saw the simmering tension between the duplicitous Duke and his facelift-enhanced wife. Here's the red carpet arrival.
And they go, we got to make that go away. But there's real estate on a website homepage. There is real estate there on a newspaper front cover. And something has to be filled in there about someone royal.
All started with one post. One tiny post that Meghan Markle never saw coming, especially not from someone she once called her ride or die. But in Hollywood, loyalty has a shelf life. And once the cameras start rolling and the secrets start spilling, that loyalty evaporates faster than champagne at a Netflix wrap party. This time, the dagger didn't come from a tabloid or a palace insider. It came from within. A woman Meghan had shared private dinners with, laughed with, maybe even confided in when the world felt a little too cold. And the moment that post hit the internet, Prince Harry reportedly went ballistic. Let's rewind a bit. On a priority list, I feel fortunate that our children are. Just weeks ago, Meghan had been on her self-proclaimed Paris redemption tour. She wanted to reclaim her narrative to be seen not as the disgraced Duchess, but as the fashion-forward power player she always believed she could be. Photos of her at the Ritz sipping espresso in oversized sunglasses were meant to scream chic comeback. But instead, the headlines were whispering something else entirely. Who's footing the bill this time? And just as that noise began to fade, her friend, let's call her the insider for now, posted a cryptic story on Instagram. Nothing too dramatic at first glance, just a throwback photo of Meghan from their old Soho House days with the caption, "Some people forget where they came from until their past comes knocking."
Nice. Now, we were just saying how we never have a moment to catch up because
Gasoline, and within hours, the internet was ablaze. Commenters flooded in, dissecting every word, every emoji, every possible meaning. Was this a warning, a betrayal, or a carefully timed exposé? And that's when things spiraled. Because this insider, as it turned out, wasn't just any friend. She was someone who had been in Meghan's tight inner circle long before royal titles and California mansions. Someone who knew the early hustle, the whispered schemes, the carefully constructed image that would one day crown Meghan as the Duchess who outsmarted the firm. And now she wasn't playing along anymore. We'll see you upstairs. According to multiple reports, Harry found out about the viral post before Meghan did when his phone began lighting up with alerts from aides and publicists. One source described his reaction as volcanic. He supposedly stormed into the kitchen of their Montecito mansion, waving his phone and demanding to know who this friend was and why she was saying this. Now, Meghan, meanwhile, was reportedly stunned. Not angry, not yet, just stunned. Because for her, every move, every friendship, every public appearance is part of the grand chessboard she's built to survive in both royal and Hollywood circles. The idea that someone she trusted might break formation like this, it wasn't just personal, it was strategic sabotage. By the next morning, that one cryptic post had evolved into a full-blown scandal. The friend had gone live on TikTok, and that's when things got truly messy. With a nervous laugh and a glass of white wine in hand, she began spilling tea that Meghan had spent years trying to bury. Nothing outright defamatory, she was careful, but just enough truth to sting. She talked about how Meghan allegedly practiced princess poses in the mirror years before meeting Harry. How she dreamt about marrying someone royal or billionaire rich. How during her early Hollywood grind, Meghan was always working an angle and never just hanging out for fun. In the part that sent shock waves, the friend claimed Meghan scripted her entire narrative before the Oprah interview, even rehearsing emotional pauses and lines meant to evoke global sympathy. "I'm not saying she's fake," the friend said during the stream, "but let's just say she's always known how to turn pain into profit." That clip went viral. 20 million views in under 24 hours. #MeghanX exposed trended worldwide. And Harry, he reportedly lost it. According to insiders, Harry was furious, not just at the friend, but at Meghan for letting this happen. He couldn't understand how someone from her own circle could blindside them like this. One royal biographer claimed Harry was overheard saying something like, "This is exactly why the family never trusted anyone around you." That line alone, if true, would have cut deep. Behind closed doors, Montecito insiders say Meghan went into full crisis mode. Her team allegedly tried reaching out to the friend to clarify her comments, offering a sit-down to correct the record. but it was too late. The story had already taken on a life of its own. And here's the kicker. Major outlets started sniffing around. British tabloids, American gossip shows, even French publications who'd covered Meghan's recent Paris trip. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who is this friend? And what else did she know? But what's so interesting about it is that it is so much worse than we could reasonably have expected. Rumors swirled that she'd already been approached by a streaming platform. Yes, the same one that gave Meghan and Harry their multi-million-dollar deal to do an unfiltered tell-all on her experiences with the Duchess. That's when the narrative flipped. Harry, seeing the fire spreading online, reportedly demanded they make a statement, something to downplay the feud, to suggest it was all a misunderstanding between friends. But Meghan refused. Her pride wouldn't let her bow down to someone she viewed as an inferior player. Instead, she allegedly decided to retaliate quietly, not through words, but through influence. Her team began feeding positive stories to sympathetic journalists, painting Meghan as the misunderstood victim of jealous acquaintances. They highlighted her charity work, her motherhood moments, her resilience. But no amount of glossy PR could hide the fact that this time the knife came from within, and that made it sting far more than any royal feud. And for Harry, that was the final straw. He was reportedly humiliated that Meghan's personal life kept bleeding into the public eye, tarnishing what little credibility they had left. Sources close to the couple say tension in their home reached an all-time high, with Harry allegedly retreating to his separate office for hours on end, ignoring calls and meetings. Meanwhile, the friend emboldened by the viral fame posted again, this time a short caption that read, "Sometimes the truth doesn't need a palace. It just needs new Efi." The internet went feral. It was witty, sharp, and eerily pointed. And Meghan, already reeling from the storm, reportedly broke down in tears that night. To her, this wasn't just betrayal. It was exposure. The friend hadn't just pulled back the curtain on her public image. She'd reminded the world that Meghan's fairy tale wasn't as seamless as it seemed.
Which is securely tucked away on a private, gated street.
According to several insiders, the Montecito mansion turned into a war room overnight. The blinds were drawn, the phones never stopped buzzing, and Meghan, she reportedly spent hours pacing the floor, clutching her phone, refreshing feeds, and rereading every post, every comment, every jab. One source claimed she wasn't just upset, she was incandescent. You could practically feel the fury radiating off her.
I put myself at risk for that, but I will continue on with a life of public service, so I will.
Meanwhile, wasn't handling things any better. He'd been trying desperately to keep the peace between his wife and the world. But this was different. This wasn't just palace gossip or anonymous tabloids. This was personal. This came from someone Meghan had once loved and trusted. And worse, the betrayal was viral for her.
Becoming more isolated, winding up the royal family, and people are beginning to turn off and switch off from them.
For Harry, who has spent years shielding Meghan from criticism, the humiliation cut deep. He reportedly snapped at staff, blaming careless friends and Hollywood fakes for dragging Meghan's name through the mud. But behind that anger was something else: exhaustion. A royal insider told one UK outlet he's tired. He feels like they're fighting ghosts. Ghosts from her past. Ghosts from his family. It never stops. But Meghan's fury, that was strategic. Within 48 hours of the viral TikTok, her team allegedly sprang into what one publicist described as code red PR response. Calls were made to friendly outlets. Whispers were seeded on social media, and suddenly, conveniently, stories began popping up painting Meghan as the victim of a jealous ex-friend who was trying to cash in on her fame. It was classic Meghan: control the narrative before it controls you. But this time, the narrative refused to cooperate her whether they
were true or not, to avoid other less favorable stories being
because as Meghan's PR machine fired up, her former friend, now dubbed the whistleblower by the press, was quietly inking a deal. Not just a random influencer brand deal or a magazine interview. No, this was something bigger. Streaming giant Netflix. The same one that once gave Harry and Meghan their 9-figure contract was reportedly in talks to feature the friend in a new tell-all documentary about the dark side of fame and friendship in Hollywood. And while no names were confirmed publicly, everyone knew exactly who it was about. That's when things went nuclear. One tabloid described Meghan as being in complete meltdown mode. She allegedly stormed out of a meeting, shouting that Netflix was stabbing her in the back after everything she and Harry had done to make them look credible. At home, things got even worse. Harry reportedly pleaded with Meghan to ignore it, to let it blow over. But Meghan wasn't built for silence. She was built for control. And seeing someone else command the narrative, especially through the very platform that once celebrated her, that was unforgivable. The tension between them was palpable. Witnesses claimed that during a dinner with friends in Santa Barbara, Harry appeared withdrawn. While Meghan was barely containing her anger, she reportedly complained that she was being targeted from all sides. First the royal family, then the media, and now her own friends. But Harry, already fraying under the pressure, reportedly snapped back. Maybe if you stopped fighting everyone, they wouldn't all become enemies. That line hung in the air. Sources close to the couple say Meghan left the table in tears, retreating to the restroom for nearly 20 minutes before returning with red eyes, but a forced smile. To the public, they were still the picture-perfect pair. But behind the smiles, the foundation was cracking.
No, I think we should break.
Mutating, feeding the online frenzy. Talk shows began dissecting it. Royal commentators speculated on air. Even late-night comedians slipped in a few jokes. And then came the moment that changed everything. Netflix dropped a teaser trailer. The clip was barely 30 seconds long. A shadowy silhouette, a woman's voice saying, "Fame doesn't change you." It reveals who you always were. No name, no face, but the subtext crystal clear. Meghan reportedly lost it. She allegedly called her PR team in the middle of the night, demanding to know if they could legally stop the release. When told it wasn't about her by name, Meghan reportedly fumed. "Everyone knows it's me. They're humiliating me without saying it." Harry, however, was done fighting. Insiders claim he withdrew completely, spending long hours away from the house, even booking solo meetings with advisors to discuss their ongoing Netflix obligations. His biggest fear that the platform might sever ties altogether, cutting off not just their credibility, but a major financial lifeline. By this point, the public had taken sides. Some saw Meghan as a victim of betrayal. Others called it poetic justice. The Duchess finally facing consequences for her own manipulative behavior. Every talk show, every gossip page, every Twitter thread was pulsing with Meghan's name. But for the first time, her silence wasn't strategic. It was defeated. Behind closed doors, she reportedly broke down completely. Friends say she spent days in bed refusing calls, skipping events, and crying over what she saw as the ultimate betrayal. Doria, her mother, allegedly flew in to check on her. But even that reunion couldn't soften the edges of humiliation. Harry tried at first to comfort her, but their arguments grew too frequent, too explosive. He was tired of the endless crises, the public battles, the emotional whiplash. He loves her, one insider said, but he's exhausted by the drama. And then came the final twist. The friend didn't just stop at one documentary. Reports emerged that she'd signed with a major podcast network in her premiere episode titled The Duchess and the Truth. Within hours of that announcement, Meghan's PR team scrambled again, pitching new positive stories, accidentally leaking photos of Meghan and Harry at a charity event, smiling hand in hand. But the internet wasn't buying it. The narrative had already solidified. Meghan, once the media's golden girl, was now seen as the queen of manipulation, finally facing her match. And for Harry, it was heartbreaking. He'd given up everything, his family, his titles, his reputation to protect Meghan. But in that moment, as he watched her unravel under the weight of her own past, he realized something no royal training could prepare him for. You can protect someone from the world, but you can't protect them from themselves. The friend's betrayal didn't just ignite a media firestorm. It exposed the cracks in Meghan and Harry's empire. And as Hollywood turned its gaze elsewhere, one question lingered in the air, echoing across Monticello. What happens when the world finally stops listening?